by myself, William Scarborough, President of the Adamsey Park Civic Organization, Walter Dogan, President of the Brinkerhoff Action Association, Oscar Bryant, President of the St. Albans Civic Improvement Association, Loretta Humphrey, President of the Greater Triangular Civic Association, Araceli Cook, President of the 149th Street South Ozone Park Civic Association, and Lester Muse, President of the Octagon Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Christina Sovereign, and then we'll go back to virtual. And as you're coming down, just for the virtual world, Jean Hall, Isaac Blassenstein, and Henry Euler. You'll be next up in the Zoom queue.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening. My name is Christina Sovereign, and I'm honored to be here as the president of the Liberty Park Homeowners Association. Liberty Park is a historic neighborhood of approximately 500 homes and 700 families located in Glendale, Queens. The association was founded in 1926, almost 100 years ago. We meet once a month and host several community events. Our residents work hard to keep Liberty Park going. I am here to testify why Liberty Park should be kept within District 30. The current draft places us in District 32 and will remove Liberty Park from the rest of Glendale. Liberty Park residents are very active members of the Glendale community and strongly identify as Glendale residents, some having lived there for 70 plus years. We would like to maintain the same council person as the rest of Glendale so we can continue to work effectively with our councilmen, our community board located down the block, which is Community Board 5, the 104th Precinct, local schools, and fellow civic leaders, all which are located in District 30. We have strong, long-standing relationships with all of these entities, which in turn helps us get things done to improve and maintain our neighborhood. Back to the current draft, which has us in District 32. It's certainly a strange shape and stretches way down through Howard Beach to Rockaway Beach, which is nearly 10 miles away from us, which in New York City distance might as well be New Jersey. Liberty, and we are also severed from the rest of 32 because we have very large cemeteries and parks between us. So Liberty Park would be a small bump at the top of the district and an afterthought. I would also like to add that our current Councilman Holden, who spoke earlier, has shown us how important a neighborhood's relationship is with the council person. He or a representative from his office attends every single one of our meetings. We are primarily zoned for 1 and 2 family homes, which he mentioned. And the District 30 office really supports us in getting things accomplished that are meaningful for our community. Liberty Park residents and Councilman Holden and the DOT worked together to install two four-way stop signs at extremely dangerous intersections in our neighborhood. Without Bob and his team, we couldn't have accomplished this. The stop signs have changed our lives. It may sound small, but if anyone's ever tried to get a stop sign or worked with the DOT, they know that this is a tremendous accomplishment. So I would greatly appreciate you considering the importance of our neighborhood of Liberty Park remaining in District 30 as a way to preserve the history of civic engagement that we have worked so hard for to maintain, which in New York City is no small feat. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. As we queue up Jean Hall, Isaac Blassenstein, and Henry Euler, we had been joined a while ago, but I had not introduced her formally, Maria Mateo, who is also a commission member. So just wanted to make sure I did the formal introduction to you as well. Jean Hall.
Good evening to the chair,
Good evening.
Mr. Dennis Walcott, and members of the New York City District and Commission. My name is Jean Hall. I live in Rochdale Village and I serve on the Board of Directors for Rochdale, which is in District 28. I am opposed to the proposed lines for District 28, specifically focusing on the impact to the community of Rochdale Village. The lines as currently proposed would divide this community into several council districts, 27, 28, and 31. The proposed lines are not viable because as the second largest Mitchell-Lama development in New York State that houses 5,860 units of affordable housing, serving over 25,000 residents of New York, the effect would be devastating to our community. This housing community was created to be a city within a city. Our community currently spans approximately 120 acres and provides our residents with open green spaces within the urban Jamaica community. Therefore, keeping this community within one district and avoiding crossover districts is key. Of course, Rochdale Village serves a vibrant community of seniors and veterans who depend on the vital services which Senior Center. Segregating the community may jeopardize critical funding for the social service needs. Because Rochdale Village features fully equipped playgrounds, satellite daycare centers, and is anchored by 3 schools, PS 354, PS 80, and Junior High School 72. And we have our own branch of the Queens Public Library. Drawing lines that shift this dynamic landscape would be counterproductive to keeping neighborhoods and communities intact. Because Rochdale Village generates its own power with our power plant, that is our most critical infrastructure source. The power plant is a 21 mega cogeneration facility that provides all of our heating, cooling, domestic hot water, and electric capabilities. Because Rochdale Village offers amenities and facilities, which include parks, basketball and handball courts, tennis courts, medical offices, a United States postal facility, 2 shopping centers that provide opportunities for small business and minority-owned businesses. Keeping our district compact to align with the objectives of this commission is fundamental. Because the residents of Rochdale are civic-minded, motivated, and majority Democratic voters, the commission must draw lines that avoid splitting the same political party. This only serves to dilute our voting power and may severely diminish the effectiveness via our representation. Splitting this community in 3 districts will certainly not provide cohesive and effective representation. And I know that was not the intent of this commission. The new lines proposed by the commission splits one of our buildings in half. That will result in confusion for our residents. Based on the current proposal, the commission did not avoid creating an oddly shaped district. The community continues to grow to serve working class, retirees, youth, seniors, and everyone in between. We have historically been part of District 28, and we want our great community of 20 buildings to remain in District 28 together and not divided. I urge the commission to reevaluate the proposed lines and keep Rochdale Village whole. District 27, 28, and 31 council members are working with the Queens Civic Congress on a map that supports and does not fracture the Southeast Queens community. Thank you to the commission for your opportunity for me to submit this testimony.
And thank you for your testimony. Isaac, is it Blasenstein?
Blasenstein, thank you.
I'm sorry, Blasenstein.
No problem. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, commissioners, for your time tonight. I live in Sunnyside, south of Queens Boulevard in the 26th district. The proposed District 26 would not result in quality representation for myself or my neighbors. This proposal would place working class neighborhoods like mine with a median income around 60,000, with zip codes in Manhattan where people make twice that much. This plan would take a coalition district with nearly equal white, AAPI, and Latino populations and replace it with a district where wealthier, whiter residents greatly outnumber others. It would further reduce the Black population by nearly a third. It uses a strangely shaped border to cut out and remove Ravenswood and Queensbridge from the district and add the wealthier Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island. The proposal divides Woodside into multiple council districts disenfranchising the immigrant communities there. I would suggest that the Commission's proposed map would benefit real estate interests, creating a wealthy, white district containing areas with high land values and proposed luxury redevelopment, while disenfranchising working class communities and their affordable housing needs. The Commission has a responsibility to keep neighborhoods and communities of interest intact, and I would suggest this map does not do that. In addition to creating a new, wealthier district, this map places together Manhattan and Queens, 4 community boards, and a district that spans the East River. The proposal would place an onerous burden on the District 26 council member to effectively attend meetings for 4 community boards, 4 community board committee meetings each month, and also attend 2 sets of borough-specific meetings for all council activities. The need for 2 well-staffed district offices will pose further logistical strain on District 26 and the council members' ability to provide effective constituent services and representation. I urge the commissioners to reconsider the map. I think Sunnyside and Woodside are best kept together, and I think myself and my neighbors would be best served as part of a geographically compact Queens district. Thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciated.
And thank you for your testimony. Is it Henry Euler and then Maria Tantillo? Henry Euler? Henry Euler? Maria Tantillo. Oh, that's our commissioner again popping up. Not, and let me go back to in person, and what I'll do for the first grouping, go through the next group of in-person testimony. Is it Rosamond Giantassos? Is it? I'm sorry to not say your name correctly. Is it? Okay, following Rosamond, Eugene No, and then Derek Evers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's Rosamond Giannoutsos. I'm Dr. Rosamond Giannoutsos. I am a member of Queens Community Board too, but I'm speaking today here in my own personal capacity as a longtime resident of Sunnyside. And I've lived in this community. I've raised my children here and now raising grandchildren. And there are some elderly citizens on the other side of the river, just referring to the Upper East Side comment. In any event, I'm speaking in opposition to the proposed redistricting boundaries for District 26, in that they add Manhattan and Roosevelt Island and take away the diverse blue-collar sections of Woodside. Number 1, the rules state that district boundaries must be contiguous. However, as has been mentioned, one cannot travel to Roosevelt Island without leaving District 26. If Roosevelt Island is to be joined with Queens, then it belongs in Astoria. I haven't heard anybody calling for that, of course. The Manhattan portion of the proposed district contains many hospitals, which most would regard as the jewel in the city's healthcare crown. However, these are not where Queens locals go for emergent care. The present District 26 has not one hospital or birthing center, and yet the proposed District 26 will appear to have many of those Upper East Side hospitals, reducing our chances of getting our own local hospital. The same argument can be made for parkland, and I imagine other issues as well. The districts are have different sorts of resources. Anyway, the proposed redistricting most concerningly splits the community of Woodside like a cluster bomb, disenfranchising ethnic enclaves. I am proud of the ethnic and economic diversity in the current District 26. My overarching concern is that our beautiful, diverse quilt is going to become a cashmere blanket, substantially richer and whiter. Our communities are blessed with over half of our residents born in other countries. We have just elected a council member who came to the United States when she was 9 years old. We are proud to have welcomed many people to shelters. We have not been a NIMBY area. I'm proud of that fact, and particularly in the Blissville section. I hope that Blissville remains part of our district. So my proposal, 3 parts. Roosevelt Island belongs either in Astoria for a purpose of contiguity or in Manhattan, their preference. Bring Woodside back completely into District 26. And finally, Manhattan belongs in Manhattan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Eugene, no? Derek Evers? Hi.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the community's testimony today. My name is Derek Evers, and I'm a resident of Ridgewood, Queens, a Queens Community Board 5 member currently living in City Council District 30. And I'm here to implore you to right the wrong of the past 20 years and make Ridgewood whole again. Ridgewood is one of the oldest neighborhoods in all of Queens. It also falls entirely within one community district, entirely within one education council, and it has very clearly defined borders, including the border of Brooklyn to the west, Metropolitan Ave to the north, and the commercial train line and cemetery to the east and south. Residents of Ridgewood even vote in lockstep with their neighbors, with over 75% voting for the same city council candidates. It is by every definition a singular community of interest. The problem is, because Ridgewood was split in half between District 30 and 34, that vote has largely been rendered useless, and our neighborhood is actually represented by the candidate who received 25% of the vote. As you can probably imagine, this lack of representation has led to severe inequities in how resources are distributed in our current council district. Making matters worse, Ridgewood represents the largest Hispanic population in Council District 30, with the highest concentration, as you might have also guessed, right where the district splits. That gerrymandered district line also runs along 2 middle schools, 1 high school, our only public library, Mr. Walcott, and 3 parks. This summer, those parks received 0 public funding, or 0 summer program funding, and in this last budget, every single school in Ridgewood is facing massive cuts, but the ones along that district line, IS-93, IS-77, and Grover Cleveland High School, are getting cut by an average of over $800,000 each this year. And in the last record of SHSAT testing results show that those 2 middle schools averaged less than 1% acceptance rate. And it's not just the city council. Prior to this year, Ridgewood had 2 state senators, 2 assembly members, 2 congressional reps, and the current 2 council members. Fortunately, the congressional and state redistricting largely addressed the first 3. Conversely, your most recent maps would further divide us and actually split Ridgewood up into 3 districts. But you still have time to right this major wrong. Given the current makeup of the maps, the easiest way to do that is just to extend City Council District 34 to include all of Ridgewood, from Grover Cleveland Park up to Fresh Pond Road and along the commercial train line to Cypress Hills Cemetery. District 34 needs to take on population, so it only makes sense to unite the rest of the Hispanic community. It currently splits in half before taking on an entirely new community in South Williamsburg. And definitely if the alternative is further dicing up Ridgewood. In one move, you can unite a minority community, lift up our schools, our parks, and our network of community resources. And as council members Holden and Areola both testified, it would also strengthen City Council Districts 30 and 32 as it would follow main geographical boundaries and allow them to shed the portion of the district that is at odds demographically and electorally with the rest of their districts. In closing, I'm begging you, please do not neuter our vote any further. Whether you look at it by demographics, community districts, school districts, easily defined borders, Ridgewood is the embodiment of a community that should be in one council district, and you have the power to make that happen. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your testimony. Next will be Reverend Carlene Thorbs, then Sheila Lewandowski, Mark Laster, and then Nicholas Berkowitz. All right, let me just get to this. Okay, Reverend Thorbs? I don't see her. Sheila? Oh. Let me just see if is Sheila here, Lewandowski? Sheila. She's ahead, and then Mark.
Nice to see you. Hello, oops, glasses, okay. So greetings, good evening, and thank you, Chairman Wolcott and the Commission for the opportunity to testify. My name is Sheila Lewandowski. I'm first generation United States and testifying as a resident homeowner of Long Island City and an active voter. I hope that's not my phone. I thought I turned it off. I'm also a member of Community Board 2, where I serve on the Redistricting Task Force, as I was chair of the Bylaws Revisions Task Force, was vice chair, co-chair of Transportation Committee. I'm founder and director of Chocolate Factory Theater, which is a local arts center, volunteer and supporter of many other city, state, and federal coalitions and groups. I oppose the districts as drawn, this first draft, I'll call it that, for District 26, and encourage you guys to also solicit more community feedback and schedule additional hearings in the fall. This is an incredible turnout. A lot of people haven't shown up though, and it is August when many people are away. I personally know a number of immigrant families where they've gone home, and I think their voices need to be heard, especially in this area or in Queens, where they are so much a part of our identity. I share the mayor's focus on increased equity and anti-racism in government, and I believe this commission is a reflection of that. And I want you guys to really reflect on the criteria for fair and effective representation when considering District 26 on communities of interest. That's been mentioned before. You will hear from Community Board 2 Chair later, and I stand by all of the items you will hear in that. That's asking you not to divide us, and some of the reasons go to concern about how the demographics will be changed under these proposed lines. District 26 is currently wonderfully diverse, but would become majority white with an increase in area median income of almost 50% if it is to include parts of the Upper East Side and Roosevelt Island. I have been a resident of Long Island City since 1997, although I was born in Queens, and I still wait for access to amenities like a community center, a hospital, equitable public open green space, because this district still sits in the bottom 3 of all of them, adequate school seats, and truly affordable housing based on an area median income less the top 20% of earners. This initial draft for District 26 will just make needed amenities further from reach, as those amenities that exist in Manhattan and exist in Roosevelt Island will serve as a smokescreen, boxes checked without our local representative government actually having to provide these needed services here in this district. I ask that you truly consider the children, seniors, immigrants, disabled, and all families of the existing district, and don't suppress their voices. Let them be heard in the fall. Don't dismiss our needs, and don't divide us. So I thank you very much again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. Now, Mark Laster.
Good evening. My name is Mark Laster, and I'm one of the founders of the Central Queens Redistricting Coalition. I'm also one of the founders of the Forest Hills Green Team and currently serve as the co-chair. I'm an executive committee member of Queens Community Board 6 and co-chair of their Aging and Social Service Disability Committee. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker with over 40 years of practice. Though the map for District 29 does not have significant changes, it does take in more of Richmond Hill. Under this proposal, Richmond Hill would be divided between council districts, continuing to dilute the voices of this community. Secondly, the proposed maps, which we've talked about a lot tonight, would separate Sunnyside from Woodside, which again would not be, I think, beneficial. Third, it moves parts of Elmhurst into one district, although residents had asked to be moved into another. Finally, the proposed map split Mitchell-Linden neighborhood into 2 different districts. At the Central Queens Redistricting Coalition, which is a nonpartisan, neighborhood-based effort to provide a voice to the diverse center in Queens, we are in the process of developing a map for Queens that will address these 4 concerns I listed above. As soon as we finalize our proposal, we'd be more than happy to share it with the Commission. As we've worked on these proposed maps, we were curious to better understand why the Commission decided to keep Staten Island whole. This has limited the ability to be more flexible and to draw maps that captures communities of interest. Also, as a member of Community Board 6, one of the main areas we were trained on is conflict of interest policy. Curious to know what the conflict of interest policy is for this commission. Finally, after being active with the State Redistricting Commission, we faced numerous challenges. When I have attended trainings about this redistricting process, I was informed that the process is much clearer. I'm somewhat disappointed that all the mapping decisions have been made in secret without any reported justifications. I look forward to hearing as to why some of the decisions highlighted in this testimony were made. I thank the Commission very much for this hearing. I look forward to a productive relationship through this process.
Thank you for your testimony. Next in person is Nicholas Berkowitz.
Good evening, my fellow New Yorkers. Good evening, commissioners, Mr. Chairman, elected officials. Thank you for coming out to speak up, and commissioners, thank you for listening. My name is Nick Berkowitz, and I'm a Democratic district leader and state committee member for AD 37, which overlaps significantly with both the proposed District 26 map and the existing one where we are this evening. I'm also a member and a committee chair of Queens Community Board 2. I'm here to speak against the proposed maps. Particularly, I'm here to speak about District 26 and especially the need to keep Woodside and Sunnyside together. I hope that my parents will allow me back into my East Side Manhattan childhood home after I say this, but I'm confident that Yorkville will survive being lumped in with Queens. That part of East Side Manhattan is less wealthy than its reputation would suggest, but it's an amenity-rich community that knows how to get what it needs. I've lived here in Sunnyside for more than a decade, but I was there for the East Side High School fight in the 90s, and we now have Eleanor Roosevelt High School. I went to East Side Middle when it was a single hallway on the 5th floor of PS 158. Now it's one of the nicest freestanding middle schools in the city. What concerns me is that these Manhattan resources will become the thumb on the scale against advocacy on the Queens side of a 2-borough district. With Yorkville slapped onto our council district, which is one of the driest medical deserts in our city, we'll suddenly be skewed to show a glut of healthcare access without a single new bed or maternal healthcare facility being built. Our green-starved Queens district becomes statistically verdant when we bring in the East Side Greenway without planting a single blade of grass or building a single set of monkey bars. But perhaps my greatest concern is for my Woodside neighbors. The middle and low income and largely immigrant community of interest is being cleaved in 4 by these maps and separated from Sunnyside, which is deeply, deeply economically integrated. This is a neighborhood in need of the strongest and most robust municipal representation, not 4 afterthought whimpers in City Hall. We need a council district designed to electorally reward culturally and linguistically competent district services because lives are at stake. All I need to say is COVID and Ida. All said, I implore you, please change these maps so they don't pit Manhattan's successes against Queens' needs. Please keep Woodside together so it can fight for itself and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Maria Vasquez, and then we'll go into virtual, and that'll be the 5:30 to 7:30 group, and then we'll start the second group. And as people are getting ready in the virtual world, we'll have Albert Badillo, Joanne Yu, and Bill Perkins up next in the Zoom testimony.
Good evening, everyone. I want to introduce myself. My name is Martha Flores Vasquez. I'm a district leader in the 40th Assembly District since 2002. I am also the director and president of Community Prevention Alternatives for Families in Crises. I sit on the board, the advisory board of DA Melinda Katz for the Latinos. I'm here because I always have a concern not necessarily about geographics, but public service and the populations that I serve. And I'm willing to cross a bridge. I'm willing to cross over to any borough and help whoever is in need of help. I'm looking at some numbers. The most common racial and ethnic group living below the poverty line in Queens County, New York, is Hispanic, followed by white and Asian. I hope that's not surprising. Language. Let's start with Spanish, the highest spoken language, followed by Chinese, which includes Mandarin and Cantonese, and Bengali. I think that we have to be mindful of those populations that are underserved. Even though I've been a district leader in an Asian district and I keep getting reelected, even when there's an opponent of any other ethnicity because of the services that I provide, I think that we are underserved in Flushing, the Latinos. I think there's a lot of division, and I think that I haven't heard many voices here representing the Hispanics, and I was invited by the Latinos Presente to be here. But I'm not just here for Latinos Presente. I'm here to ask this diverse commission to please serve the underserved. That should be a primary focus. And I'm overloaded with work. You know, I actually cross over to Brooklyn now with the Department of Aging. I actually was spoken to about serving Latinos in Brooklyn because of my reputation. And I included the Asians. And the Asians will now be represented alongside the Hispanics and everyone else, because I am about diversity. I am about provision of services to all the people. We have a black borough president. We have a black speaker of the city council. We have a black attorney general. We have a black mayor who I absolutely adore, Mayor Adams. To me, he's the best mayor ever. And we're so fortunate. So I hope that my voice is heard because I am the people's voice. And when it comes to voting, there is voter apathy, but I think it has to do with a bunch of different components. Extremists, not necessarily people in neighborhoods. So people have given up on politics, but let's not give up on providing service to the public. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we're going virtual. Albert Badillo and Joanne Yu, and then Bill Perkins.
Hello, Commissioners. Good evening. This is, like we said, a rodeo, 30 years. This is my third testimony over 3 decades coming to this commission. I think you've done a very favorable job with the maps, but I believe it needs some tweaking. You cannot push or put Rochdale Village with Ozone Park, South Ozone Park, and Richmond Hill. They have no commonality whatsoever. As a matter of fact, you're going against the laws of census and redistricting. And courts have been upholding this, as you saw in the last redistricting process. As a matter of fact, the Republicans and Democrats, they didn't agree on anything, but they agreed on one thing. And that one thing was that Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, and South Ozone Park must be kept together. And that must give you a lot of food for thought, because if the Democrats and Republicans, who agreed on nothing else, can agree that these 3 communities are so integrated that you must keep them together, then it behooves you to listen to that sort of analysis that it did, and to sort of like invoke it into what you're doing. And you've done to a very large extent. The only thing is that you've dragged the lines. I think you should start with 32. 32 is more favorably disposed to include us together. That is to the Van Wyck Expressway, to City Line, just over Woodhaven, and to Forest Parkway, and to the conduit. And I've submitted a map to that effect. I believe that the Unity map also reflects something similar. So there you have a mass and a base of folks who have the same historical heritage, the same ancestry, the same customs, they worship in the same schools and churches, and they play together and work together. They're also essential workers who deserve some consideration. And they have been the backbone of this local economy in New York City. So it behoves you to at least give them justice. And that justice is very simple, that you keep them together. They live in 1 and 2 family homes, and therefore their mortgages and so forth, property taxes are all issues that must be tackled together. And that is why putting them together would be good. Now, my good friend Danik Miller, this former city councilman, he also talked about not keeping Rochdale Village or keeping Rochdale Village together. I agree with that, but not at the expense of other communities, and also not dividing Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, and South Ozone Park with Howard Beach, because they're disparate communities. They're separate. They have nothing in common, and it only creates tension, and it's a wrong thing to do. But you have enough mass, you have enough critical mass of folks to put them together in one city council district in Richmond Hill, South Ozone Park, and Ozone Park. And that is what I would advise you strongly to do, and we would ask you to do that because it satisfies all the legal criteria for redistricting. It is a purposeful approach to this issue, and it's also one that we must embrace as a matter of both law, reality, morality, and conscience. So I would ask you to do that. Now, why do I say this? I say this
if you can
because
start, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it sounded like you're about to go into another major theme, and then we have other people who are
Oh,
lined
no, I
up.
was just saying that
Okay.
twice elected district leader in District 38, which is Woodhaven and Richmond Hill, and also in 24. So my point to you is that there's already shown the commonality of electing one person, of being together, and of doing that. And we respectfully ask that you keep Richmond Hill, Ozone Park, and South Ozone Park together, the Forest Parkway to Woodhaven or City Line, to the Conduit, and to the Van Wyck Expressway, and not divide Rochdale Village or not use us as filler for any other district. That's all I ask. Or that's all we ask, because I'm an elected district leader and I speak for this community. So thank you very much, commissioners, and we hope you do the right thing.
Thank you for your testimony. Joanne, you? Joanne, you? Next would be then Bill Perkins.
Thank you, Commissioner. As a way of background, my name is Bill Perkins. I live in District 31 in Rosedale. We've been working very closely with our elected official council member, Sabina Brooks Powers, as well as the local civics. We've also reached out to our other districts, District 27 and District 28, work with local civics there and the elected officials. So you're likely to hear some similar testimony. Because we worked together to make sure that we had common themes that we represented in the testimony. So what I will do is read my testimony that I submitted to the redistricting site. So you'll have this to review after the meeting. Dear New York City Redistricting Commission, thank you for the opportunity to provide me to comment on the maps proposed by the Commission on July 15th. We've attached a map that was created by our council member, Sabina Brooks Powers, which we feel reflects what we want our community to be as far as redistricting is concerned. It also matches the map submitted by the Queens Civic Congress, who are advocating for our identical positions while they're thoughtfully balancing the districts adjacent to ours throughout the borough of Queens and the entire city. As a longtime resident of District 31, the only change I want is to include all of JFK Airport in our district. My rationale is threefold. First, JFK was previously a part of District 31, so this change would simply correct an error from the last redistricting cycle. Second, the communities of Rosedale, Brookville, Laurelton, Springfield Gardens, and Auburn by the Sea, currently part of the district, are directly in the airport's flight path. Lastly, JFK is currently represented by one congressional member, one state Senate member, one assembly member. So there is simply no need for two council members to retain the airports in their district. Consolidating JFK under one umbrella not only makes the most sense, but it will also make it easier to address current and future concerns. The rest of District 31 should remain intact because of the shared characteristics, race, political party, geography, and type of home ownership in each community. And I evidence this as follows. Rosedale, Laurelton, Brookville, and Springfield Gardens are contiguous. Our communities are primarily Black, and our residents are registered Democrats who are single and two-family homeowners. Our communities are fighting the same battles, which include improving education, ensuring access to healthcare, protecting the environment, tackling airport noise, dealing with flooding, creating jobs, and keeping our neighborhoods safe. For decades, the district's civic associations, an example, the Eastern Queens Alliance, Rosedale Civic Association, Federated Blocks of Laurelton, Concerned Citizens of Laurelton, Springfield Rosedale Community Action Association, Springar Civic Association, and Springfield Gardens Taxpayers and Citizens Association have worked closely together with all levels of government to address the issues and drive the changes needed. We have also launched special task force, an example, the 116th Precinct Community Task Force, the Southeastern Queens Zoning Preservation Task Force, and the Queens Community Task Force Against Illegal Truck Parking to fight for the new precinct and to focus on the most important quality of life issues in our community. The Rockaways and Arvin by the Sea communities should also remain intact and within District 31 because their demographics are like those in the district's mainlands communities. For example, the Rockaways portion of the district is made up of primarily Black Democrats who own single or two-family homes. And any changes there here would split the Democratic vote, disrupt the political dynamics, and really adversely affect the interests and desires of our residents. Therefore, to preserve and continually advance the common interests and concerns of the residents in District 31, I petition the commission to keep our district intact, with the only exception being including JFK Airport that will restore the continuity which previously existed. Thank you for receiving my comments.
And thank you for your testimony, sir. Next up will be, again on Zoom, Timothy Mercer, Luis Booth, and then, Timothy Mercer is listed twice. So Timothy Mercer, Luis Booth, and then Sherry Agridia.
I'm here. Oh, who's next? Me?
Timothy Mercer.
Got you. Thank you very much and welcome. These guys are good. I just want to say, guys and ladies and gentlemen, actually, I just want to read this statement so it'll be in the record, and then I'll speak to where these lines go, and especially when it cuts off one of our buildings. I don't know if anybody really looked at the aerial picture for this district, but Rochdale Village is solely a village. We're a box. When you look within Rochdale, you'll see that the buildings are all inside. There's no through streets. The only streets is to the front of the building, which is a circle, where you can visually see that the circle leads to the 4 buildings and you come right back out the same way you came in. That's the only roadway we have. And for Rochdale to actually be cut in half, or basically would be cut in half with my section included, because we have 3 sections to a building, A, B, and C. I'm in the C section, and that C section falls in that next district. So I'll just read this statement. And if I have any time left, then I'll continue to discuss why I feel we shouldn't have. And I'm kind of like, happy, because I hear these other districts and notice that they don't have everything that we have. That's why I say in this chapter, you'll hear that when I'm saying this is a city within a city. Okay, the redistricting proposal for Council District 28 will split Rochdale Village by placing one half of a building and the community center between two council districts. This will fracture our Rochdale Village community, will not protect programming for our vulnerable seniors, will not provide continuity resources for this complex, and disrupt the operational contingents of this community. Continuity of this community, I'm sorry, this getting me a little nervous. This complex has 20 buildings arranged in 5 circular groups with 4 buildings per group. Each building has 3 sections, A, B, and C. So that's 4 buildings with 3 sections in each building. Along Bedell Street, there are 3 groups, 2, 3, and 4. On Guy Brewer's side, we have Group 1 and 5. The proposed redistricting of District 28 would place groups 2, 3, with the exception of one section in Building 7 and 5 in District 28. And the other half of the Building 7, along with groups 3, 4, and half of Rochdale Village Community Center will be in the next district. Rochdale Village was designed to be and function as a city within a city, providing continuity of services and programs. Rochdale Village has its own power plant that generates all the electrical power, heating, air conditioning, and domestic hot water. The power plant provides these services independently with no connection to any outside utility company. Rochdale Village Department of Public Safety protects the residents, visitors, and the property of the complex. Rochdale Village has 2 shopping malls, a community center, and its own branch of Queens Public Library System. Any funding provided by one council member to his or hers half of this complex will certainly disrupt the quality of life and will not provide the continuity of resources for the services. For example, in 2021, Councilmember Adrian Adams was able to provide Rochdale Village with funding for the facade work for all 20 buildings. Had this council district been split into 2 at the time, only half of the complex buildings would have been fixed. The North program and Rochdale Village, the senior center will sit in the next district. While the seniors, these programs will serve to be split into 2 districts, thus leaving the programming for the vulnerable population unprotected.
Can I ask you to start to wrap up, sir?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
2 more lines. Okay. This proposed plan will create a nightmare scenario for the managing agent and the management of Rochdale Village. In fact, this proposal will make the management of funds provided by the 2 council members for their district with this complex extremely difficult, confusing to the residents, and disruptive to the operational continuity of this community. And I just want to add, this is a village, and like the young man said before me, 2 people before me, that with these lines, there are no roads. I want to emphasize, there's no roads leading through this property. It's just into the circle and out. And that would definitely cause a disruption within and violate actually one of your, and I'll send it in also with my paperwork, one of your sections here in this district mapping of a community. And thank you very much. I appreciate you, and it was interesting.
And thank you for your testimony. Thank you very much. Louise Booth? Is Louise Booth? Then Sherry, is it Algradia?
Yes, I'm here, Sherry Algrado. My name is Algrado. I have lived in City Council District 28 since I came to this country 28 years ago. I currently live here with my husband and my 2 children. While I also serve as the chair of Community Board 9, but I am here to speak as a resident of City Council District 28. The Redistricting Commission's draft district map keeps a huge part of together, and significant places in the community like South Richmond Hill High School, the Gurdwara, the Sikh Cultural Center, the Baba McCann Sikh Center, the Boys and Girls Club of America, Richmond Hill Block Association, except for the area of Phil Rizzuto Smoky Park that also belongs to this as part of a thriving community. This also needs to be integrated into the redistricting map. All these organizations run from Vanwyck, Jamaica Avenue, and Woodhaven Boulevard. These organizations are significant to South Richmond Hill and its vital growth and economic development, and should be kept together as part of City Council District 28 as it has historically been. We at South Richmond Hill would also like to keep our community together under one City Council district as much as possible. This redistricting map should not be in any way drawn political, but as what is right and what is best for this community. It should always be the community needs and what is best that should be considered when redistricting conversations like this occurs. If you were to visit here, then you would see and understand why this district should be kept together. We all want to keep our communities together, but at the end of the day, we have been requesting for Richmond Hill to be kept together with all these places that are connected like a family. And we should keep what is in the best interest of this community. These decisions will affect us for the next 10 years, and we can't afford to be split up and wait 10 more years to correct an error. Please do right by our community and listen and hear our voices and keep these places in District 28. Thank you.
And thank you very much. All right, so that's the end of the first grouping. Now we'll move into the second grouping. But before we do, all of you have been outstanding, very patient. And I'm going to call for a 30-second stand up and stretch. And then we will continue on. So why don't we all, including me, stand up for a second if you want and stretch, because all right. I feel like I'm about to conduct a giant yoga class, but we're not. So if we can have our seats, then we're going to go back in person, and we're going to go through first 10 on the next list. So the next 10 will be called 3 or 4 at a time. So if I can have your attention again, and thank you. No, I got them back. I'll get them back.
Yeah, everything.
Folks, if we can take a seat, 30 seconds is up. I appreciate really the attentiveness, because I know it's been a number of people both testifying in person and virtually, and we want to get to all of those individuals who are still waiting to testify. So next up will be, if we can, thank you very much, will be Anel, is it Shahai? Anel Shahai. I tried calling this name before, I'll try it again. Eugene No, and then Mazio, M-A-Z-Y-Z-O, and then Shalel Ahmed. So Anel Shahai. Is Anel there? Anel, come on down. Then I'm not sure if Eugene is here, but Eugene, you would follow, and then Mazio, M-A-Z-Y-Z-O, next. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Anil Shahi, and I am an immigration organizer at Adhikar. Adhikar means rights in Nepali. Is a women-led community and workers center that provides direct services to the Nepali-speaking community and organizes low-income workers and impacted community members to promote social justice and human rights. Our center is located in Woodside, Queens, currently District 26, where, along with Sunnyside, the vast majority of our community members live. At Adhikar, we define the Nepali-speaking community as descendants of Nepal, Bhutan, India, Burma, and Tibet that speak Nepali. We are often referred to as our community's 911 and 311 lines, and we serve more than 10,000 Nepali-speaking people annually. Our community is one of the newer immigrant communities, and according to Asian American Federation's profile of New York City's Nepali Americans report, we are the fastest growing Asian ethnic group in the city. Most of our members work in the informal sectors as nail salon workers, domestic workers, taxi drivers, and restaurant workers. Through programs like workforce development trainings, English for empowerment classes, and other immigrant and health-related services, we create access to information, build community leadership, and grow collective power to win rights for our communities and dignity and equity for all. For too long, the struggles and demands of communities like ours have been rendered invisible. With the recently proposed split of District 26, we are now faced with an all too familiar situation, one where our communities are at risk being split up and made weaker. Many of our working class immigrant members, like Goma and Sabita, who are with me here today, live either in Woodside or Sunnyside, neighborhoods that are currently in District 26 but at risk of being broken up. Thousands of members that we work with, like them, depend on daily necessities services like community-specific groceries, social services like those that Adhikar offers, healthcare access, and social and religious community spaces that are scattered throughout the two neighborhoods along Woodside Avenue and Roosevelt Avenue. For these reasons, it is imperative that Woodside and Sunnyside are kept whole in District 26, especially as the Nepali-speaking community that we serve live in both neighborhoods and share cultural centers, places of worship, restaurants, schools, and many other institutions of collective community. Needless to say, if a part of Woodside is incorporated into District 30, as has been proposed, our people would have very little in common in terms of language, culture, and our lifestyles in general with the rest of the population of the new district, and would be rendered a tiny minority. Our aspirations and needs are very different from the population of District 30. Our communities have more in common with the communities in Woodside and Sunnyside than those in Maspeth and Middle Village. Our communities are already kept whole in New York State Senate, State Assembly, Community Board, and largely also through the New York District Congressional District. The fact that we had been able to speak with one voice also enabled our community to elect an Asian American on the City Council last year for the district, and also elected another Asian American as the Democratic candidate in the general election for Assembly. This kind of representation is a must if our communities are to continue thriving and be heard by our elected officials. We ask you to please keep our communities whole. Keep Woodside and Sunnyside together in District 26. We advocate for the Commission to adopt the Unity Map submitted by the Unity Map Coalition for the unity and proper representation of our community. I thank you for allowing me to share this testimony with you all to uplift the voices and demands of Nepali-speaking community for a just, fair, and inclusive electoral redistricting process. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your testimony. Is Eugene no? All righty. MazYzo. Say that again. No. And then I said Shohel Ahmed. No? Okay. So we have a group of individuals, they have a bus, and I know they have to leave. And Maria Segura, is it Basilio Garcia? Okay. Claudio Nunez, and Gerald Nunez, and Sandra Dominicez. If you can come down and maybe somewhat consolidate the testimony, and that way we can make sure that you are able to get the bus on time.
Buenas noches.
If we could have
Buenas noches para todos. ¿Por qué estoy aquí?
Hold on one second, please. We have a translator.
Yeah.
Oh, you have
the
someone?
lady's going to read the text in Spanish, and then I will
You will?
translate
Okay.
it.
Thank you, sir. Just double
So
checking.
she will do it completely. and
Okay,
then
fine.
okay.
Just double checking. Thank you.
¿Por qué estoy aquí? Hoy es un día que será para la historia. Hoy es un día donde la voz de muchos será escuchada, donde habremos muchos, pero contaremos pocos para hablar por aquello que no lo supieron. No porque no quisieron. Hoy vine a dar mi testimonio ante la audiencia para sacar la frustración, la impotencia a la que me veo obligada, peleando por justicia social. Porque pienso que esta redistribución del distrito Aparte de ser discriminatoria, afectará drásticamente la vida de los que vivimos en el Distrito 26 y ni siquiera debería de tener espacio para ser discutida. ¿Se pensó en la opinión de la comunidad cuando se decidió hacer estos cambios? Seguro que no. Hemos sido ignorados. Me siento violentada en mi derecho a decidir cómo quiero vivir, qué futuro le voy a dejar a los que vienen detrás de mí. Esta comunidad que es nuestro distrito 26 es muy diversa, donde las comunidades e inmigrantes hacen la mayoría, donde cada día luchamos por una vivienda más justa y asequible, donde hemos creado raíces y donde nuestra diversidad de cultura es ya parte de nuestro día a día. Gusay es mi hogar. He vivido aquí por más de 20 años. El transporte, registro de votación, el ingreso promedio, mis vecinos de Little Manila, y podré enumerarles 100 razones por las que no quiero que mi distrito sea cambiado. Según el censo del 2020, el 66% somos mayoría latina, somos gente trabajadora y no estamos solos. Junto a nosotros, otras comunidades diversas, la asiática y las personas de color. Las mismas comunidades de interés que son protegidas por la ley del derecho de voto. Yo como inmigrante tengo la necesidad de estar aquí para rechazar estos cambios, para ser la voz de todos aquellos que ni siquiera están siendo informados de cómo la decisión de pocos cambiará la vida de muchos. Este cambio en nuestro distrito es rechazado rotundamente por todos nosotros. Cambios que no solamente están separando nuestras comunidades en 4 distritos. Estos cambios no nos benefician, nos afectan. Y a nombre de los miles y miles que no pudieron estar aquí porque no se les dio la oportunidad, yo exijo que se respete nuestra decisión, que no queremos cambios y que queremos seguir siendo parte del Distrito 26. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Why am I here? Today is a day that will be part of history. Today is a day where the voice of many will be heard, where we will be many of us, but we will count few because speaking for them, they couldn't do it. They didn't want to. Today I came to give my testimony to this audience to end our frustration, our impotence, of which I'm forced to do. I'm fighting for social justice because I think that the redistribution of the districts, besides being discriminatory, it would affect drastically the life of those of us who live in District 26 and that don't even have a space for debate. Did you think about the opinion of the community when you decided to make these changes? Of course not. We have been ignored. I feel punished in my rights to decide the way I want to live. What future am I going to live to those behind me? This community has been our district for 26, our 26th district is very diverse, where the immigrant communities make up the majority, where each day we struggle for housing that is just and accessible. We have created roots and where our cultural diversity is part of our everyday life. Woodside is my home. I have lived here for 20 years. public transportation, voter registration, barely livable income, my neighbors of Little Manila. And I can name 100 reasons why I don't want to change my district and I don't want it to be changed. According to the census of 2020, 66% is of Latin descent. We are working people and we are not alone. We are together with other communities that they are diverse, Asian communities and people of color. The same communities that are interested in being protected because the right to vote is the key. As an immigrant, I have the need to be here, to reject these changes, to be the voice of those who were never informed of how those decisions were made and how they will change our lives. This change in our district is therefore rejected roundly because these changes are separating our communities in 4 separate districts. These changes will not benefit us. They will affect us, and in the name of the thousands who were not able to be here today because they were not granted the opportunity, I demand that you respect our decision because we don't want the changes that we want to do being part of District 26. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Claudia Núñez. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Claudia Núñez. El Distrito 26 es mi hogar. Somos una comunidad diversa en que las personas de color y los inmigrantes son la mayoría según el censo del 2020. El 66% de los encuestados del Distrito 26 se identificaron como latinoamericanos, hispanos, isleños, asiáticos del Pacífico y afroamericanos, las mismas comunidades de interés protegidas por la Ley del Derecho al Voto. El mapa preliminar del Distrito 26 de la Comisión de Redistribución de Distritos dividirá a Woodside en 4 distritos municipales. Esa división la representación tendrá un impacto negativo en la capacidad de la comunidad inmigrante para llevar a cabo políticas de interés público. El Distrito 26 es también el hogar de la comunidad colombiana, la comunidad ecuatoriana, la comunidad peruana, la comunidad mexicana y tantos otros inmigrantes latinoamericanos que constituyen el 29% de nuestro distrito, desde Long Island City, Astoria, Sunnyside hasta Woodside. No hay un rincón de nuestro distrito que no tenga iglesias católicas de habla hispana, taquerías mexicanas, panaderías colombianas, locales de restaurantes peruanos, organizaciones artísticas como Thalía Spanish Theater, el Club de Baile Folclórico Mexicano en Manhattan y organizaciones sin fines de lucro como NICE y Woodside on the Move que sirven a nuestros nuevos vecinos inmigrantes. Estoy para solicitar a la Comisión de Redistribución de Distritos que no nos separen y desautoricen nuestras voces dividiéndonos en 4 distritos municipales separados. Si se divide en 4 distritos municipales como proponen los nuevos mapas, interrumpirían el progreso que hemos logrado y dividirá el flujo de recursos para los miembros de la comunidad inmigrante. Nuestros avances económicos, social y político dependen de nuestra unidad para tener una equidad y representación efectiva por un miembro del Consejo. Somos un grupo minoritario racial y lingüístico protegido por la Ley de los Derechos Electorales y esos derechos están siendo violados. Y para resumir, esta propuesta de mapas hará que la población blanca crezca del 29 al 44%. El hispano va disminuyendo del 29 al 22% y la población asiática disminuye del 31 al 25%, lo que significa de esos mapas no están compitiendo con el requerimiento de presentación justa y efectiva para nuestras comunidades. Muchas gracias.
Hello, my name is Claudia Nunez. District 26 is my home. We are a community that is diverse and of majority people of color and immigrants, according to the census of 2020. 66% of those who did the survey in District 26 identify themselves as Latin Americans, Hispanics, AAPI, and Afro-Americans. The same communities of interest that have been protected by the law of the right to vote. The preliminary map of District 26 of the Redistribution of District Commission will divide Woodside in 4 municipal districts. This division is the representation that will have an impact, a negative impact, in the capacity of the immigrant community to carry out policies for the public interest. District 26 is also the home of the Colombian community, the Ecuadorian community, the Peruvian community, the Mexican community, and many other immigrants from Latin America that make up 29% of our district. From Long Island City to Astoria, from Sunnyside to Woodside, there is not a corner of our district that do not have Catholic churches, Spanish-speaking Catholic churches, Mexican taco stands, Colombian bakeries, Peruvian chicken places, artistic organizations of Spanish speakers, such as Thalia Spanish Theater and the Club de Baile Folclórico of Mexico, which is located in Manhattan. And also organizations that are free, such as NICE, that serve our new immigrant neighbors. I am here to request the District Redistribution Commission that they don't divide us, and to end the division of the 4 districts in separate municipalities. If you divide them in separate municipalities, you will make up new maps. You will interrupt the progress that we have achieved, and you will divide the flow of resources to the members of the immigrant community. Our advance in economic matters, in social and political issues depend of our unity and our ability to achieve equity and representation for every member of the council. We are a minority group in terms of race and languages. We are protected by the law of electoral rights, and those rights are being violated. I recommend that the Commission be very sure that Woodside remain together to Long Island City, Sunnyside, and Western Astoria, as they have been in the last 30 years, and make up the lines or the grids of District 26. To summarize this proposal, I'm sorry, it's written, handwritten. I cannot read the handwriting. The mapa?
El mapa.
Okay. To summarize this proposal, the maps that have been shown so far point out that the white population amounts to 29%, while 44% for Hispanics, and it is reducing towards 29%. 22% Asian population, which is being also reduced from 31 to 25. All of this means that all of these maps are not fulfilling the requirement of just and effective representation for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jairo Nunez. I live in Woodside at the Cosmopolitan Houses, which is part of the District 26. I originally lived in Long Island City and attended junior high school in Astoria. I'm also a member of the Cosmopolitan Tenants Association. Our community over the years has become vibrant and prosperous with people from many ethnicities and nationalities. They have transformed the district into a great place to live. The preliminary map for District 26 proposed by the Redistricting Commission would divide our communities from Woodside, Sunnyside, Long Island City, and Western Astoria into 4 separate municipal districts. The census from 2020 shows that 66% of the population in our district is composed of people of color, Latin, Asian American, and Black people. This redistricting proposal would increase the white population from 29 to 44%, reduce the Latin population from 29 to 22%, and the Asian population from 31 to 25%. I believe this division would have a negative impact in our community's capability to conduct policies helpful to our district's public interests and divide the flow of resources to our community. Our economic, social, and political success is dependent on our unity so that we may have equity and effective representation from our council member. I want to recommend the commission that our district lines remain the same, as it has been for the last 30 years. Do not let political maneuver interfere with our community's progress and well-being. I totally reject this redistricting proposal. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Pertenezco al Distrito 26 en Woodside, el cual ha sido mi hogar por 25 años. Han crecido mis hijos y adoro mi comunidad. El por qué estoy aquí, hoy hice un pare a mi vida y a mis obligaciones para cumplir otra que demanda que mi voz sea escuchada. Hoy vine a dar mi testimonio ante esta audiencia para sacar la frustración e impotencia a la que este gobierno nos lleva. Como persona de la tercera edad, no debería de estar hoy peleando por justicia social. Estoy aquí porque pienso que esta redistribución de distritos es ilógica, discriminatoria y ni siquiera debería tener espacio para ser discutida. ¿Han pensado en el efecto que causaría a nuestra comunidad si esto llegara a ser realidad? Hemos sido ignorados, me siento violentada y mi derecho a decidir cómo quiero vivir, qué futuro dejo a mis hijos. Esta comunidad de nuestro Distrito 26 es muy diversa, donde las comunidades inmigrantes hacen la mayoría, donde cada día luchamos por una vivienda más justa y asequible y donde nuestra diversidad cultural es ya parte de nuestro día a día. Según el censo del 2020, el 66% somos la mayoría latina, además de la parte asiática y las personas de color, las mismas comunidades de interés que son protegidas por la ley del derecho de votar. Yo como inmigrante tengo la necesidad de estar aquí para rechazar estos cambios, para ser la voz de aquellos que ni siquiera están informados de cómo la decisión de pocos cambiará la vida de muchos. Este cambio en nuestro distrito es rechazado rotundamente porque estos cambios solo están separando nuestras comunidades en 4 distritos separados. Para resumir, esta propuesta de mapas hará que la población blanca crezca del 29 al 44%, el hispano va disminuyendo del 29 al 22% y la población asiática disminuye del 31 al 25%, lo que significa que estos mapas no están cumpliendo con requerimientos de representación justa y efectiva para nuestras comunidades. Estos cambios no nos benefician, nos afectan, y a nombre de los miles que no pudieron estar aquí porque no se les dio la oportunidad, yo exijo que se respete nuestra decisión, que no queremos cambios y que queremos seguir siendo parte del Distrito 26. Gracias.
Gracias.
¿Cómo se llama? Sandra Domínguez. Sandra Domínguez. Okay. My name is Sandra Dominguez. I'm here and stand up and giving and putting my voice out loud. I'm here to give my testimony to the audience, to put out my frustration and impotence to the government. I'm a person with the older age. I didn't need to be fighting for justice social. I'm here because I think the distribution of the district are not logic, discriminatory, and even giving us a space to do a debate. Do you think the effects causing to our community is real? We were ignored. I feel violent in my right to choose where I want to live, the future I want to live to my children. This community in our district 26 is very diverse, where the community immigrants is most of the part, where each day we fight for a house more right, where our diversity culture is part of our daily life. According to the census 2020, the 60% mostly are Latinos. Also, Asian and people of color. The same communities are protected by the law right of vote. I'm an immigrant. I have the need to be here to reject these change and put out loud my voice for all of them that they couldn't be informed and take a decision for change, for this decision that is gonna change a lot of lives. This change in our district is rejected because this change is separating our communities in four districts. To summarize this purpose, the maps is gonna make the population wide to increase in 29% to a 40%. Hispanic is going to decrease from the 29% to a 22%. And the Asian population is going to decrease from the 31% to a 29%, which means the maps are not doing the requirements for a representation and effective for our communities. This change is not benefits us, is affecting us in the name of thousands of people who couldn't be here. We want a change, and we want to be part of the District 26.
Thank you very much.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Basilio García. Quiero darle felicitaciones a los derechos humanos porque yo creo que hay cosas que hay que solucionar para el bien de todos, nuestra gente. Aparte de eso, quiero decirles que por favor hagan las cosas como tienen que hacerlas. No le estoy dando órdenes, sino para que todo el mundo quede en paz y tranquilo. Ahora voy a empezar. Oh, se me olvidaba, pertenezco a la organización de usuarios de MUS, soy líder, la cual represento a muchos de ellos y especialmente a los inmigrantes. Esta noche soy inmigrante y ustedes más adelante van a saber por qué. La razón que me trae aquí hoy a dar mi testimonio ante esta audiencia no solo me llena de plena frustración, sino de coraje e impotencia. Como persona de la tercera edad, no debería estar hoy peleando por justicia social. Estoy aquí, quiero, porque pienso que esta redistribución de distritos es ilógica, discriminatoria y ni siquiera debería tener espacio para ser discutida. ¿Han pensado en el efecto que causaría a nuestra comunidad si esto llegara a ser realidad? Esta comunidad de nuestro distrito 26 es muy diversa, donde las comunidades inmigrantes hacen la mayoría, donde cada día luchamos por una vivienda más justa y asequible, y donde nuestra diversidad cultural es ya parte de nuestro día a día. Según el censo de 2020, el 66% de la población de nuestro distrito se identifica como latinoamericana, americano, asiático y negros. Las mismas comunidades de interés que son protegidas por la ley del derecho de votar. Yo como inmigrante puertorriqueño tengo la necesidad de siquiera estar informando de cómo la decisión de pocos cambiará la vida de muchos. Este cambio en nuestros distritos es rechazado rotundamente porque estos cambios solo están separando nuestras comunidades en 4 distritos separados.
If you can start to wrap up, sir. Thank you.
Para resumir, esta propuesta de mapas hará que la población blanca crezca del 29 al 44%. El hispano va disminuyendo del 29 a 22% y la población asiática del 31 al 25%, lo que significa que estos mapas no están cumpliendo requerimientos de presentación justa y efectiva para nuestras comunidades. Lo que yo le quisiera decir a ustedes es que borren ese mapa de una vez por todas y dejen los distritos tal como estaban, para que no vaya a haber problemas, porque los más afectados son las minorías. Los blancos tienen el dinero y el poder, pero las minorías sufrirían las consecuencias y eso sería terrible. Okay? Now,
No, sir.
I'm
If you could-
going to introduce this in English. All right.
No, sir,
I
with all due respect, with all due respect,
Commissioner of the
with all, hold on one
Human
sec.
Rights,
Hold on 1 second.
it's a
please.
pleasure to be here tonight.
Hold on 1 second, please. If you can just do a summary of it, because we have a number of people waiting on virtual right now, and also people who are here waiting to testify. So if you can just give us a summary of your testimony, that would be great.
Yeah, but I want the Latin people, my people, know what I'm saying in Spanish.
No, I understand. I respect that.
And I wanted the people that who speak English understand the message too, at the same time. Is right or wrong?
So no, we're not here to get.
Is everybody do the same thing?
Sir, if you can go ahead and not, we're asking you just to go ahead.
So you let me know when.
I just said it. If you can go ahead.
Can I? All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Basilio Garcia. I represent Woodside on the Move, and I'm glad to be here tonight. The reason that I'm here today is to give my testimony before the audience, not only because I feel plenty in my heart. I got frustrated. I had encouraged myself without importance, like person of the third age. I can be here today filing for injustice social. I'm here because I want it and think that the distribution of the district is illogical, discriminatory, and no one be here space for be discussed. Do you think that the effect that caused to our community is that will be a reality? This community of our District 26 is very diversified, where communities of immigrants don't the majority, where every day we fight for a living and justice, accessible, affordable living, where diversify a culture that is part of our day-to-day. Therefore, the census of 220, the 66% of the people of our district identify as Latina, Americana, American, Asiatic, and Black. The same community that interests that are protect for the law to the right of vote. I, like a Puerto Rican immigrant, I have the necessity of being here for reject these changes. Yeah, this is this change. For rise my voice of all those who need, we are elect.
Sir, if you can wrap up, your time is up.
This change in our district is rejected very hard for everyone, because these changes all separate our community in 4 districts separate. For some, this proposal of the map had the population wide to grow up the 29% and 44%. The Spanish was discriminated diminish the 29% to 22, and the other population, Asiatic,
Sir.
is been 31 to 25%.
Sir, I'm
That
saying
means
this with
that
all
the
due
map-
respect to you. If you can wrap up, please, because you have been on for over 10 minutes.
All right.
And we have,
Thank you.
okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, next we're going virtual. So virtually, if S. Ellish is next on virtual, then followed by Frederick Bondi, and then Faye D. Hill. So first, S. Ellish. Is S. Ellish there? S. Ellish? Frederick Bondi. Faye D. Hill.
Good evening,
Ambika.
everyone.
I'm sorry. Who is this
Good
speaking? I'm
evening.
sorry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, who is this, please?
Okay, this is Frederick Bondi.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Good
Bondi.
evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fred Bondi, and I have lived in my Manhattan building next to the Queensboro Bridge for 55 years. My wife and I raised our 3 children here, all of whom still live in Manhattan. I'm here briefly to present my 4 reasons for opposing this preliminary redistricting plans. Reason number 1, it will lead to a loss in funding for our Manhattan East River parks. I've been a frequent user of these parks for all these 55 years. With a Queens voting majority of 73%, they will advocate for funds to be primarily directed towards the Astoria and LIC park systems, as well as other Queens park systems. And our Manhattan parks will suffer because there's only so much money to go around. Number 2, reason number 2. This division or redistribution will cause mayhem and confusion in the administration of our East Side hospitals, such as Weill Cornell and Sloan Kettering. Reason number 3, it will cause the same for our educational systems and public schools, along with the loss of discretional funding that the Queens politicians will gain. Reason number 4, the same will also be true for our libraries and our recreational facilities. I strongly urge the Districting Commission not to go forth with the preliminary redistricting plan because it's an unfair and unnatural marriage of these districts. I hope that you will not proceed further with it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
And thank you for
members.
your testimony. Next, we'll go back, excuse me, in person to Asman Chowdhury and Lokmani Ray on behalf of Drum.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Osman Chaudhary. I live in Sunnyside last 20 years with my sister, senior citizen, and brother-in-law. Today I'm here to oppose the commission draft and map because the divided Woodside is a 4-part. The 4-part means this is cyclone or tornado attack. They divided it. This is not acceptable. That's why I'm here. Also, I'm not supporting this map. I'm supporting the unity map. This is all Woodside and Sunnyside keep together. And also, the Woodside and Sunnyside relationship like a family member, Woodside side, Sunnyside side, the last ward, they're all matching with each other. In both are friendship. Today we divided, we can lose our friendship. And also the Woodside and Sunnyside, lot of Bangladeshi community bought the house and they built almost 10 mosques. They're praying, and if it divided, when I bought the mosques, I grew up the Woodside, the place up, I buy like a first class payment, and now you divide it to the second class, go back to other part. So this is the discrimination. I paid that much money when a first class amount, like Sunnyside, the Woodside, when I buy the house, like this, that kind. And then that's why immigrant right, we lose it, because our dream, the immigrant come, we bought house, now we're gonna back up another district. This is, I think they'll lose their mind. That's why I keep the Sunnyside, Woodside as the same, whatever right now have it, and that's why I'm at the commission. Today see all the audience here, they act one issue, they don't want to divide us. We're long time living, we're very faithful, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Lakmani Ray.
Hello everybody, good evening. My name is Lokmani Rai. I live in Queens for more than 5 years, and I'm against the Commission's map. I support the unity map because it keeps Woodside and Sunnyside together and whole. Our community elected Asian for City Council and Assembly. Our district currently is majority Asian. If you split it up, it will create 2 white majority districts. Our communities in Woodside and Sunnyside rely on public transportation, like 7 train, M trains, and MTA buses. Maspeth and Middle Village community mostly rely on driving, meaning we have very few things in common. We need a city council member who understands the needs of the immigrant community and the working class. The only way that can happen is if you keep Sunnyside and Woodside together. I'm here with many of community members and organizations like mine, DRUM, meaning this is rising and moving up, to ask the commission to adopt the unity map. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Next we'll have, is it Chamani, Chaman Tamang, representing Magar Association? My apologies for mispronouncing your name.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me over here. On behalf of all my Nepalese community, we are together right now. This is Hemang Lama. I am community board member too, and I am member of the Tamang Society of America and Nepalese community. We are here today. We feeling little sigh and afraid because I'm saying something. I'm going to be participate some boxing ring. I'm fighting with Mike Tyson. Then he's blowing me on my head that I'm falling down because this opposing district 26 and 25 is very diverse, like very divided for our community. So on behalf of my community and others member, I'm telling the truth, our feelings. Then you guys, you do understand my feelings today. We have a like statement together, maybe 18 or 20 Nepalese and Tibetan community representing, we are saying something together right now. All the members are standing behind me, so I am representing them together. The Nepali community settled in Woodside, Sunnyside, Elmhurst, Astoria since 1990s. that the large population and growth, like early 2000, more than 2,000 people living Sunnyside Woodside, except Elmers, East Elmers, and Middle Village. We have a very huge community around the block. In the District 26 and 25, Nepalese community gathering and organize on non-profit organization, Adhikar, like Hyolmo Society, like so many like ethnic group we are working together, like Sherpa community, Tamang community, Magar community, so many communities. All the communities, they donate $1 a day. They're making the own building in our community. Until today, most of the Nepalese community doesn't have got any one single penny from the city and state. We donating the money, we making the own house, we building our community better. Now all communities is divided. This is very painful for us. Please save our community together. We want to sit together, not divided. That's why we all are strongly oppose this proposed map of the District 25 and 26, strongly opposed. Then we do believe all the members, elected members, commissioner, and all the staff, you all hear us pain today. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your testimony, and thank you to the group. Next, we'll go back to our virtual testimony, and Faye D. Hill, Ambika Prasad, and Amanda Debra. Faye D. Hill. Not Ambika Prasad. Amanda.
Good evening.
I'm sorry. Did I hear a
Hi,
voice?
this is Ambika Prasad.
Oh, hi. How are you? You're up.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you to the New York City Districting Commission for convening this hearing today. My name is Ambika Prasad. I am an active member and a summer organizer at South Queens Women's March, a local grassroots gender justice organization. I've also lived in the Queens neighborhoods of Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park for most of my life. As a professionally trained Indian classical dancer in the Kathak dance form, I've shared my art with so many cultural programs and festive occasions in this community, all spread across district lines that are not intuitive and fracture us at our very core. A little bit about South Queens Women's March. Founded right before the pandemic hit, South Queens Women's March amplifies the voices of South Queens' diverse women and gender-expansive people. We are a multi-generational, intersectional platform working to foster women's empowerment. We take our sisterhood to the streets to unify women and gender-expansive people and connect them to the tools and resources necessary to empower their own lives and thrive. Through mutual aid, healing, art and wellness, youth and professional development, and civic engagement, all while meeting people where they are, which is what brought us to become a proud member of the APA Voice Redistricting Task Force. Much of our work has been based in Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park, home to vibrant and widespread Asian American populations, specifically South Asians, mainly consisting of Punjabi and Indo-Caribbeans. I want to note here that the Asian population in Queens has grown larger than any other racial group per the last census, by 29%, an increase many local CBOs, including ours, put so much energy into capturing. These communities have been gerrymandered for far too long. They've been disenfranchised. When the pandemic hit, many of our grassroots organizations had to pivot and meet the needs of our community, a community that was #1 for COVID incidents and struggling for resources. We want to finally be able to elect candidates of our choice in the place we've called home. We can't accept our votes being diluted any longer. Our community of interest is bordered by Woodhaven Boulevard to the west, Jamaica Avenue to the north, the Van Wyck Expressway to the east, and Conduit Avenue to the south. The map the Districting Commission recently released further divides our community, splitting us up even more across districts 28, 29, and 32, instead of keeping us together. We are opposed to this map. Currently, we are supporting the Unity map as it would create a plurality APA district in City Council District 32. We remain open to any option that will keep us together. Over the last few weeks, we've put in the work to have meetings with some of you to advocate to keep Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park whole. We've also met with elected officials, including Speaker Adrian Adams and Majority Whip Selvina Brooks Powers. We have additional meetings with elected officials lined up in the coming days. We remain hopeful that you will all hear our voices. As you go to the drawing board and consider these maps, we ask that you please do not divide us. Keep Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park whole. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Amanda, is it Debra? And then Mahtab Khan, and then Dan Miller. Amanda Debra? Okay, Mahtab Khan.
Good evening. My name is Mahtab Khan. I'm a South Asian activist from Jamaica, Queens. It's my hometown, and I've lived here all my life. I am here to speak in opposition of the map draft released by the Commission for City Council District 24. This is the district I reside in, and I disagree with it. Unfortunately, the map draft released by the Commission is very similar to the past District 24 map, and I believe it violates the Voting Rights Act of 1965 by not acknowledging the South Asian community's growth or contributions, especially from the new census data that was recently collected. The South Asian community has a strong presence in District 24 and has been undermined by the redistricting process. This community has been neglected for far too long, despite it being a community that has deeply contributed to society, both in the economy and in previous elections as a strong voting bloc. That neglect is erasure, and I am surprised that the map released by the Commission does not acknowledge all this. We heard of no taxation without representation, but these marginalized and immigrant communities are still burdened by taxes, yet aren't receiving adequate representation with people who understand their struggle. We do not have actual representation here from city and state legislators here in Southeast and East Queens of a representative who comes from the South Asian community. The establishment and those who have ties to it will attempt to divide our community and preventing our voting bloc from, as what happened previously, we've seen this. But we could say that the commission members and even judges, they probably aren't political, but realistically everything is influenced by politics. And I know that some commission members might have some ties with the mayor and current or past city council members, but for that reason, I request that the commission uses integrity and recognition of the reason that they are serving the commission today and the responsibility they have on making maps that help address the needs of marginalized and immigrant communities that have been severely underfunded, underrepresented, and underserved. This is especially because New York City is considered the most diverse place in the world in terms of culture, with over 600 languages spoken here. The lack of immigration resources and the lack of language accessibility that we surprisingly, even to this day, have, it deeply impacts marginalized communities, including that of the South Asian community here in District 24. And a new South Asian-led district with new representation could help address all this. We have a huge South Asian voting bloc here in City Council District 24. It extends down to City Council District 23, and I do have a proposed map that I wish I was able to share on the screen, but I'll be trying to upload it online later. That encompasses what changes that I'd like to address. Because elected officials, both from the past and present, know that the South Asian community has been moving up, but it had been abusing their power by not allowing this community to be heard and in receiving proper representation it deserves. Often South Asian community is tokenized, and we see that elected officials only meet with us when it's for photo ops, but not necessarily when we need resources that would help address our needs. These same city council members decide to prioritize and send more discretionary funds toward privileged, affluent white communities rather than marginalized and immigrant communities that are struggling. We need representation from people who truly understand the struggle of folks from marginalized and immigrant communities, not someone who comes from ultra privilege. That's how we help solve systemic issues that are against marginalized and immigrant communities. We do not need any more status quo politicians And even if we're stuck with them, we need marginalized and immigrant communities to be able to hold them accountable and to be able to have a fair chance to have someone run against them without any more barriers caused by these gatekeepers who've prevented marginalized communities from being uplifted. And I hope the Redistricting Commission reflects on all this, and from the 2021 Redistricting Commission as well, on what mistakes were made in the past and how we can make this process more transparent and inclusive, a more fair way for us to make a new district for each of our communities here. And something that would actually also adhere to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, because there's so much at stake and a lot of communities are in need of help. And this is the way to properly address that. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. Dan Miller? Dan Miller available virtually? If not, we'll go back in person. George, and George, but then also maybe Valerie Johnson, maybe they're together, the Ravenswood Residents Association, Ravenswood Houses? They left? Okay. Carol Wilkins? Okay. Is it Batari? B-H-A-R-A-T-I. Barty? Myran Swaby? Okay, hold on one second. Thank you very much for your help. Juan Mayasala? Okay, thank you. And then following Juan, we have, I'll see if person's here, Lisa McLaurin. No, not right now, so we have a long list of people still, with all due respect. Yes, sir.
And good evening. My name is Juan Mayancela, and I have been a Ridgewood, Queens resident for more than 20 years. Thank you to the committee for giving me this opportunity to speak today. As a son of immigrants, I speak today on behalf of many undocumented families and individuals who are scared to lift their voice and come out of the shadows. To the committee, I hope you make the best decision about these maps, because your decisions will impact my community for the next 10 years. During the coronavirus pandemic, I hope to establish a food pantry in Ridgewood, where hundreds of Latino families received food. To my knowledge, the food pantry was the first community food pantry in Ridgewood, and it helped many families during the coronavirus pandemic. Ridgewood is a community that houses many immigrants and undocumented families that are mostly Latinos. Ridgewood families come from Ecuador, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Honduras, and many Latino countries. Recently, hundreds of families who speak Quechua have migrated from Ecuador to Ridgewood, Queens. Queens is said to be the most diverse borough in New York City, and Ridgewood is a true reflection of diverse language and cultures. The last census numbers are very challenging. President Trump was able to place a great amount of fear in the census process, so families did not want to provide information to the census. I saw this firsthand because I did work for the census, and Latino families were very hesitant to provide answers to me. The census was also during a global pandemic. Therefore, many families did not want to interact and provide answers. I know we must work with what we have, but the numbers that are being used today are not an accurate reflection of my neighborhood. Therefore, dividing Ridgewood into 3 council districts means we are dividing many families, especially families who need the most support. Your decision on the new maps will establish how much resources working families will receive. The latest maps of the 34th district put Ridgewood families in a difficult position. The 34th district already has 7 NYCHA developments in Brooklyn. Therefore, adding 3 more developments will take away resources from Ridgewood families, which will impact them negatively. Furthermore, Ridgewood is a community with less organizations and nonprofits to support families. Thus, the only resources that Ridgewood relies on is the representation of the city council officials. To divide Ridgewood will only cause Ridgewood to be less important for elected officials and bearing them from getting the help that they need to survive in this city. Of those 3 districts, it is being divided into. District 34 already represents a supported and active Latino population, and it makes the most sense for my community to be supported by a district that puts their needs first. Ridgewood is composed mainly of rent and stabilized apartments. Developers profit from tenants and displace them, especially Latino families. After the pandemic, we are entering a housing crisis, and the new maps will reinforce developers to displace Ridgewood families because families will not be united and organized. On the other hand, District 34 represents 4 local schools. For so long, our Ridgewood schools have been divided. When a student graduates from a District 34 school, they are zoned to a school in the 30th district. Elected officials should work with schools and parents to support students. Therefore, expanding the 34th district upward in Ridgewood will allow our Ridgewood schools to be represented by 1 council member. The map should unite and establish a community that is represented by a leader that is able to prioritize their needs. Historically, District 34 has always fulfilled their goal for working for Latino families. My advice to the board is the 34th district must represent more Latino families in Ridgewood. If the 34th district represents more Queens, it will combine a population and keep a community together. If the 34th district expands more into Queens, it will allow communities such as the LGBTQ+, DACA recipients, advocates for street safety, undocumented families, tenant advocates, and Latinx families to organize and work together for a better Ridgewood. Please consider extending the lines upward to Forest Avenue or Fresh One and over to 60th Lane, looping back down at Myrtle Avenue. As a longtime Ridgewood resident, I truly believe that our current council member is the best person to represent more of Ridgewood and the best person to represent communities that have forgotten. And even when the current council member changes, this district will always have the knowledge and passion to bring community groups and resources that can benefit Ridgewood families. I want to finish by saying, dividing immigrant communities, the people who kept working during the pandemic, is not the answer. Division is never the answer. Unity is. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.